So today we're going to dive into a short story that is just gut-wrenching. It really captures the heartbreak of losing an entire culture in the span of a single morning. We're talking about Alphonse Daudet's The Last Lesson. It's set during a super tense period in history, the Franco-Prussian War, and it pulls us right into a classroom on the one day that a final lesson is about to change a young boy's world forever. We see this whole thing through the eyes of our narrator, a boy named Franz. And his morning starts with a feeling I think we can all relate to, right? That familiar dread. He's late for school, he hasn't studied for his grammar test, and man, the weather outside is just perfect for skipping. As far as he knows, it's just going to be another totally normal, kind of troublesome school day. But, as Franz starts making his way to school, he begins to notice that this day feels different. There are these little clues popping up. Hints that something is seriously wrong in his small town in Alsace, which, by the way, is now under Prussian rule. The first big clue? The silence. I mean, usually the school is just buzzing with noise, a great bustle, he calls it, that you can hear from the street. But today, it's so still. Fran says it's as quiet as Sunday morning, and that quiet, that's what immediately puts him on edge. Something isn't right. Then, on his way, he passes the town hall, and there's a crowd huddled around the bulletin board. Now, you have to understand, for the last 2 years, this board has been nothing but bad news. Lost battles, military drafts, orders from the occupying forces, it all gets posted there. So seeing a crowd gathered, well, that just deepens that feeling of dread. Something big has happened. And that uneasy feeling follows him right into the school. When Franz finally sneaks into the classroom, totally bracing himself for a scolding from his teacher, M. Hummel, he's met with a scene that just stops him in his tracks. The whole classroom is transformed. First, his teacher, Mr. Hummel, is wearing his absolute best clothes, the kind he only ever wears for special occasions. And then, get this, the back benches, which are always empty, are filled with the town elders. The former mayor, the postmaster, they're all just sitting there, looking incredibly sad and serious. The entire vibe of the room is just heavy and solemn. And then, M. Hamel drops the bombshell. In this really grave but gentle voice, he explains everything. An order has come from Berlin. Starting tomorrow, only German will be taught in their schools. This is their very last lesson in French. For a young kid like Franz, this isn't just some political news bulletin. No, this hits him like a ton of bricks. It's a deeply personal shock, and it triggers this instant, painful realization about everything he's ever taken for granted. He literally describes M. Hamel's words as a thunderclap, and in that one single moment, it all makes sense. The crowd at the town hall, his teacher's Sunday best, the old villagers sitting in the back of the classroom, it was all for this, for the end. And the weight of his own laziness just comes crashing down on him. All those lessons he skipped, all the time he wasted. He suddenly gets it. He understands the immense value of what he's about to lose forever. The chance to actually master his own language, it's gone. And his whole perspective just flips. Those books that used to be such a hassle, so heavy to carry, all of a sudden they feel like old friends he can't stand to say goodbye to. And even his strict teacher, M. Hamel, well, Franz sees him in a totally new light. He's just a man who is also losing everything. That regret is just so deep and so immediate. As the lesson goes on, you realize M. Hamel isn't just teaching grammar anymore. No, he's delivering this final, passionate message about what it truly means to have a language of your own, especially when you're being occupied. M. Hamel tells them that French is the most beautiful language in the world, and that they must guard it, always. Because, and this is the core of it all, he says that when a people are enslaved, holding on to their language is like holding the key to their own prison. It's their connection to who they are, and it's their hope for freedom. You can just feel the shift in the room. During that last writing lesson, the classroom is totally, completely silent. Everyone, from the littlest kid to the oldest man in the village, is working with this incredible focus. The only sound is the scratching of pens on paper. For the very first time, everyone in that room understands how sacred this is. While he's working, Franz hears pigeons cooing on the roof, and this simple, profound question pops into his head. And it just perfectly captures how absurd and cruel it is to try and force a culture to just disappear. Can you really order nature and human nature to change its very being? Slowly but surely, the final seconds of the lesson tick away. That inevitable moment arrives, and it leads to one of the most powerful and heartbreaking endings you'll ever read. The clock strikes noon. At the exact same instant, the trumpets of the Prussian soldiers are heard outside, basically announcing that an era is officially over. M. Hamel gets to his feet, looking pale and taller than ever. He opens his mouth to say something, but he can't. The emotion just chokes him. The words won't come out. So, unable to speak, he turns to the blackboard, and with every ounce of strength he has left, he writes two final, defiant words for everyone to see. Vive la France. Long live France. It's his last act. Just pure, silent patriotism. And that's it. He's totally spent. He can't even face his students. He just leans his head against the wall, and without saying a word, he gestures with his hand. School is dismissed. You may go. The lesson is over. The last lesson is just one of those timeless stories that reminds us that so often we have no idea what we have until it's about to be taken away. And it leaves us with a pretty deep question to think about. In our own lives, what's the language, the culture, the heritage, the knowledge that makes us who we are that we absolutely cannot afford to lose?